Hello, this is Dr. Hans, and this is just a quick calculator overview before we get into the review materials for real estate, time value of money, etc. review. And what I'm doing here, I just have a couple calculator emulators installed on a old tablet PC. In fact, that's part of the problem here. These emulators use up some memory and slows down my tablet PC, and sometimes it crashes. So hopefully we won't have that happen. But I just wanted to show you three HP financial calculators. For my courses, I don't require that you have any specific financial calculator, just that you have a financial calculator. So I'm not trying to push the HP. Lots of students use the TI, the Texas Instruments, specifically the TI BA models. And in fact, I think this is a required calculator for some upper level undergraduate finance courses. So if you're a finance major, you might actually want to talk to some of your colleagues and find out if there is an actual required calculator for some of your future courses. And I would recommend you get that calculator so you don't have to buy a second one. But for my courses, I require a financial calculator. And here are three models that will do just fine. But again, there's many more HP models, and there's TI, there's Casio, and lots of other good brands. Now this model is the 10B2. Okay, so 10B2 is in the corner down there, and it should come up for me here. Now this is a good basic financial calculator. It's pretty inexpensive, I believe. It's probably around 40 bucks. The only thing I don't like about this calculator, it's sometimes hard to enter or change certain things on the calculator. So it's not the easiest one to use, but it's definitely, for the dollar, a very good basic financial calculator. And what you see here in the upper row is the time value of money menu, and that's the N, I, PV, PMT, and FE. N stands for number of periods, not necessarily number of years if we're not working in years. I, or I per year, stands for the interest rate per year. PV stands for present value. PMT stands for payment. FE stands for future value. And this is basically the menu I'll be writing down as we do practice problems. So you can enter the information into whatever calculator that you have and solve the problems with me. But this is, again, just a good basic financial calculator. Down here is a cash flow menu. So this calculator has the capacity or capability of handling cash flows. And you just enter the cash flows in. And this is useful for calculating the present value of a series of uneven cash flows, or calculating what's called net present value, NPV. Or it's really helpful for calculating something called internal rate of return, IRR. So that's a good financial calculator for the money. The HP 12C is a very popular calculator in real estate and also in finance. It really got a hold of the market, and people who use the 12C absolutely love it. And this is the 12C Platinum, and the difference between a 12C, a regular 12C, and a 12C Platinum is basically one thing. And the Platinum allows you to toggle between RPN, which stands for reverse Polish notation, and algebraic notation. Now, algebraic notation is probably what we're used to. It's what most calculators use automatically by default, with no option of switching. But RPN is a useful notation if you learn it. You can be slightly quicker on the calculator. You can enter data in maybe a little bit more quicker than using algebraic notation. And that's why people use it, and that's why people love it. However, I find that people that use RPN, they lose their algebra skills over time. And I think algebra is pretty important for some things, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose our algebra skills. So what I recommend, if you're going to get a 12C type of calculator, get the 12C Platinum. It's probably running around 80 bucks, plus or minus a little bit, and you switch it and keep it switched to the algebraic notation. And the toggle is just the F key, ALG for algebraic, and here's the turn it back to RPN, F key, RPN. And you can see this is not cooperating with me already here, so we'll move on. It's no problem. Here's a third calculator. Now this is a higher end model, and this is probably over 100 bucks. This is the 17B3, And this is a very solid, very powerful, very easy to use calculator, but it is a little pricey. But if you're going to go into finance or real estate as your profession, this might be a good tool for you. It just booted up, so I have to select what language. I'm going to select English, and this is the main menu. And for our purposes, what we'll be using most often, what you do is you hit the button underneath the menu on the screen. We're going to use the finance or the fin menu most often. And the submenu under finance or fin is this. And most important here, there's two selections here that we'll be using. And one is TVM, which we'll go back to in a second here. The other one's cash flow. And this is the menu where you can enter cash flows into the calculator, again, for calculating net present value or internal rate of return primarily. So what you do is you just enter your cash flows, cash flow 0, cash flow 1. You input your cash flows as you enter them, and that's how you enter cash flows. It's very simple and easy. You see it all on the screen, which is a nice feature. And the thing I don't like about the 10B is that you don't see your cash flows that you're entering on the screen. They're in the computer, they're in the calculator, but you don't see them on the screen. Another feature which you'll want to learn or find out about on any calculator is the recall. RCL is what Hewlett-Packard calls it. And this is to recall any any data that you enter into any fields. Also, the input key is important here. When you enter a cash flow, you hit the input key to enter it. But let's exit back out of the cash flow menu and go to the time value of money menu, because this is what we'll probably be using most. All right, and you need to know this menu, inside and out. Now, and again, it's N for number of periods. Okay, I for interest rate or interest rate per year, PV for present value, PMT for payment, FV for future value. And you can see the menu by default shows you two items, and that's 12 payments per year. That's the number of payments per year, which I'm going to want to switch here, and I'll switch with you in a second. And also, it's currently in end mode, meaning any cash flows that you're entering into the computer, the calculator is assuming that they occur at the end of the period, whether the period's the end of the month or the end of the year, end of the quarter. It's assuming all cash flows come at the end of the period. And this is what I suggest you switch your calculator to and keep it on by default. Occasionally, there'll be times where we have to switch the calculator to what's called begin mode, BEGIN, or sometimes abbreviated on the calculators, BEG or BGN. In fact, if your calculator is in begin mode, this is kind of a special situation, and usually the calculator somewhere on the screen will have a BGN for begin or BEG for begin. But it's in end mode right now, and I want to keep it there primarily. But if you hit other on the HP17B, you get the submenu, which has the payments per year, and here's where you toggle between begin and end mode. So if I wanted to go to begin mode, I can hit BEG, and it'll take me to begin mode. But I want to set the computer to end mode and leave it there. And that's what I want you to do too. Now the payments per year, okay, this is the payments per year issue is huge in using the calculator. So many students have trouble with this. It's caused so many mistakes on exams. It's just, it's almost out of control. In fact, I wish calculator manufacturers would not give us the option of switching the payments per year. I wish they'd keep it on one payment per year and never change it and not give you the option of changing it. I think that would solve so many problems. But we have this option of setting the number of payments per year. So if we're dealing with a problem like a mortgage problem with monthly payments, we can set our calculator on 12 payments per year. However, what I suggest, and this is controversial, some people might not like this idea, is that you set your calculator on one payment per year and leave it, and don't change it. Whenever you're dealing with a problem with more than one payment per year, you can make that adjustment yourself, okay, when you enter the interest rate. Just make sure the interest rate matches the number of periods, and the problem is solved. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my calculator to one payment per year. And so what I did is I just selected one and then entered or inputted or entered it into payments per year. So now if I exit out of that menu, I'm back to my time value of money menu. I have it set up exactly like I want it and how I want you guys to set up your calculators. Again, whether you're using a Casio, a TI, or another model of the HP, I want everybody's calculator to be set up at one payment per year, and make sure you're also in end mode. If we accomplish that, we'll be in good shape. Okay, so that's basically all I wanted to show you right now. Something else you might want to figure out is how to set the display on your calculator. And with the HP, this model, the 17B2, there's a nice display key where you just hit the display key and a submenu comes up. Okay, and then you hit fixed and just set the number of decimal places, number of zeros after the decimal point that you want, in all your formats. And I think my luck is running out. Okay, so I can set up to 11 decimal places on this calculator. I like to set my calculator at 4 or 5 decimal places. I'll put 4 and hit input, and now you can see after my 1 in decimal place I have 4 zeros, and that's how I probably want to set my calculator, and that's probably how you want to set yours too, unless your instructor tells you otherwise. Okay? All right, well, signing off. I'll see you in the review materials shortly here. Bye now.